Marc Benioff is the chair, chief executive officer, and co-founder of Salesforce. Under his leadership, Salesforce has become the pioneer of cloud computing and one of the largest tech companies in the world. Now he and the company are helping usher in the next era of artificial intelligence. Marc, thanks for joining me.
It's great to be with you, Dylan. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
I'm excited to have you on because you are one of the most authoritative people on one of the biggest themes out there in the market right now. AI was the theme of 2024. It is continuing to be the theme, although it's shifting a little bit. I think we've seen things move from a real focus on strictly generative AI to a little bit more of a focus on agentic AI. And that is where Salesforce is really living right now. Can you kind of walk us through that transition and what you're seeing in terms of development there?
Oh, yeah. Well, Dylan, you already know this is the most exciting time I've ever had in my career. And this is also not our first AI rodeo. You know, we've been doing AI for more than a decade at Salesforce. Predictive AI, machine learning, machine intelligence. Our Einstein platform is probably the largest, most important enterprise platform for AI in the world. We deliver about 1 trillion enterprise AI transactions every single week. And the generative revolution has just been incredible. What we've seen happening with these large language models over the last 2 years is really astonishing. But I think for a lot of our customers, they've been very disappointed with a lot of the solutions that have been kind of given them or even shoved at them. Even Microsoft has really disappointed so many of our customers with what they call Copilot. And instead, we have a different approach, which is the next generation of our platform that we call Agentforce. The idea that you can really take and create something that we believe is going to be the largest and most important transformation of the entire tech industry, which is the digital labor revolution. And the digital labor revolution is like a $3 to $12 trillion opportunity. It's really different for people in my industry. We're mostly people who just help companies manage and share their information. We do that really well. Customer information, all kinds of apps that we have to help companies manage their information. Now we're really stamping out digital workers at scale and giving companies the ability to manage digital employees alongside their human employees. And that is very different, very exciting, and really the next level of our entire technology industry. This is a moment that none of us will ever forget.
I want to dig into those digital employees and the idea of these digital agents. As you guys are rolling out Agentforce and having more conversations with your customers around it, what are you seeing in terms of adoption, and what are you hearing back from your customers in terms of what's useful and what's not so useful?
We've never seen a product or technology take off at this level. We just reported our quarterly results. As you know, we just had our first $10 billion quarter. We're the second largest software company in the world behind Microsoft. And the fastest growing product that we have in our product line is Agentforce. Now, we probably did about 5,000 different types of Agentforce transactions in the quarter, 3,000 of which were paid transactions. And we did about 9 digits in total contract value in Agentforce. Now, why it's important is we're already starting to see customers deploy it. It's getting deployed at a much faster rate than we've seen other products. And even this morning, I was buying some new shoes from Vans. So I went to Vans.com on my phone. Here's my phone right here as a point of evidence. And I could probably bring up the site. It's probably still on there. And I'm getting ready, and I wear a really wide shoe. So I just got on there, and there's 5 icons at the bottom of the, Vans site now. And the middle icon is the agent icon. You click on agent, and you have Agentforce. And that is deeply connected through their whole company. So, I'm very interested in, hey, what are the wide shoes, and which shoes are going to be the most comfortable for me? And also, hey, I need support on returning shoes that I just bought, and I need help here, I need help there. And the agent is able to kind of work out and resolve all of these things for me. That is what is really cool and exciting. And hey, what can I say? This is happening faster than I expected. I didn't know that was going to happen. And the CEO of Vans is somebody I've known for a long time. Used to be the CEO of a tech company. It's a company called VF Corp. They're an amazing company. And I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. And he said back to me, well, people are telling me this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened on our site. I'm like, it's hard to put it in context what is happening, because instead of having to call someone Vans, someone to email someone in Vans, I'm able to work with a very intelligent, digital worker who's helping me to complete my transaction, to get the kind of customer service and support and all the things that I need. And that is very exciting. And that is what I am, motivated by every single day now. And I've got so many customer stories, and that one I just found randomly this morning when I got up. So I'm like, let's just keep going. It's so cool.
As someone who wears a 12EE, I'm appreciative of everything that you're doing for my shoe buying experience.
You should try this. You should go and try this, and you'll see they've got a really nice, cool, wide shoe on their site.
In the recent call, you talked a little bit about the trinity of apps, data, and agents. And I think maybe in that answer on Vans, you talked about it a little bit. But can you walk through how those pieces are coming together for customers?
Yeah. Well, I think people keep coming to me and asking me that very question. They're like, why is it that you're all of a sudden the #1 agent provider in the world? And why are your agents so accurate? And why are you getting traction? Why are customers saying, yeah, that you're ahead? It's very, very simple, actually. There's 3 things that have to come together to make AI work in an enterprise, whether it's mine, and I can tell you my own personal story, or Vans. One is, we're still here. The humans are still here. So I might be the last CEO who only managed humans. Now all CEOs are going to be managing digital workers and human workers. But we're still here, and I still have lots of support people, lots of salespeople, lots of marketing people, and they're working with my customers, but so are the agents. So even in my own site, which is help.salesforce.com, and in the quarter, I did like 500,000 or 600,000 customer support conversations or something. I do maybe 60 million a year in total. The thing that's interesting is that in those conversations, about 84% accuracy by the agents answering the question. Very cool. Then there is 2% escalation to the human workers. And those workers have to then get that information right from the agent. And then those agents and humans are working in tandem together to resolve the customer issue. So that idea that humans with AI are working together, that is why Salesforce is so important, because we're not delivering something separate from our platform. This is a clear and absolute extension of what we're already doing. So our apps are extended with the agents. And then we have all of our data together in one place. Now, we have made a significant architectural change in the last 24 months with Salesforce. We broke it into exactly what you said, a Trinity. And the Trinity is, #1, the apps. So all of our apps are written into a common core and work together. It's a common framework, which is our Customer 360 apps. 2, we have our data cloud, which aggregates all the customer data together and then federates it through zero copy to all the data sources throughout the company. And 3, we have the agentic layer on top of that. So the apps, the data, the agents, but it's only one piece of code, Dylan. It's one piece of code. I'm explaining it as 3 tiers, but it's really one piece of code. And it has to be one piece of code because it's one piece of data. And that's why our agents are so accurate. They can see all the data, the metadata. The metadata is the data that explains the data. Like the data is the phone number. The metadata is, this is a phone number. Because we have that information, that is what is so exciting. And we have this incredible opportunity where we can, basically deliver accuracy with AI. And that is, for me, like, for example, in the quarter, those, customers who are coming to help.salesforce.com, the velocity of it is awesome. But if you look at it a year ago, I didn't have that. I had, kind of the typical FAQ, and I had the customer support app, and I had 9,000 human agents. Now, I'm not going to need as many human agents anymore. I'm just not. So I will be able to rebalance. And you can see it. I put the stats right on the homepage, so you can see what I need and what I do not need. And it's a transformational moment for us, for our customers as well.
Earlier, you mentioned Microsoft, and I'm going to take the bait there. You're not alone in pursuing this type of technology. They are also announcing that they have agents out there. They are trying to work that into a lot of the software they bring to their customers.
Yeah.
When you think about these offerings, what do you see as the differentiators?
Yes.
And what are you really competing on?
Well, I think they're, obviously we've kind of changed the conversation, as you can see, that before it was about a co-pilot, and, they repackage and resell ChatGPT as their AI solution. They don't really make one yet. They're trying to make one. They they're basically an OpenAI reseller. And I think the problem is that for a lot of the customers, they've had to kind of DIY that into what is a complex enterprise architecture. And it has not exactly worked. I mean, you could talk to the customers. This is why we have like a stream of customer stories now. And I think that the reason that's happening is we've just extended our core platform. We're not really asking customers to add anything new. We're just asking them to turn it on. And I was with one of our, largest customers, is an airline in Singapore, Singapore Air. We've all heard of it. And the CEO Go is amazing. And, they've been a customer for a long time, great relationship with the client. And they're like, yeah, we're just turning this on. This is amazing. We now have an agentic layer around the entire airline. So we can do sales, we can do service, we can do marketing, we can do all of these things. And that is really cool and really gives us, this ability to augment their workforce. And they're shocked at how fast they can install it and get it going, because they're just flipping a switch and turning it on. This is different than that Microsoft approach, the co-pilot approach. First, Microsoft Copilot, and we talked about that. Customers realize it's not just one co-pilot. They have a dozen co-pilots on all their different product lines. None of them are connected together. It's not one source of data. It's not this kind of one piece of enterprise code. It's a real hodgepodge approach. And that's why it's failed. And I think our approach is much simpler, easier, and more successful with, real customer success because of the architecture. And I think it's the architecture that's making a difference. That ability to deliver that, high quality semantic layer on the data that's really giving us this capability with AI.
I think digging into last quarter's results, you said you had, I think, something on the order of about 3,000 customers paying for Agentforce. As an outsider looking at the business, is that what we should be monitoring for growth, adoption, and you guys making progress on that roadmap?
Well, not exactly, because I'll tell you how we're looking at it. We're signing up such a high velocity of customers. Even today, we have a conference going on, which is Trailhead DX, and we have thousands of customers, in San Francisco, and we're turning so many on. But it's not just about turning them on, signing them up, getting the contract signed. It's none of those things. It's really about adoption for us. So we are at the moment where it's like when I turned on my phone this morning and Vans is running. Or another great story is Remarkable. There's this pad. It looks like a computer, but it's not exactly. It's like a note-taking pad. And it's a very fast-growing company. And Remarkable, it's an amazing technology. And, I have the product. It's fantastic. And if let's say you're using the stylus, and all the time I lose the stylus. I'm just a forgetful person. I don't know where my stylus is. So then I have to get on there, and I'll say to the agent, I'm using Agentforce now, And you can try this right on remarkable.com as well and say, hey, how do I get another stylus? How does it cost me? How do I ship? You know, all of the things that I would normally have to talk to somebody or try to like cruise through the website, it's all getting handled for me by the agent. And again, that is a huge change. And you have to remember, we only released this technology in October. So if we're talking about whether it's Vans or Salesforce or Singapore Air or Remarkable, these things are like very new. So we're just counting live. We want to know how many live do we have. And we're trying to get as many of those ones that we've signed into live as fast as possible. Now, that focus on adoption and customer success, that's not new for Salesforce. That's how we operate our business. This is, we're in a subscription software world, so we want people to use the product. This is very important to us. And we're seeing this across the board. Another story, I have this great relationship with the CEO, Dave McKay, at RBC Bank. They're in Canada. They're one of the 6 largest banks in Canada, maybe the largest. And they have a fantastic AI team. A lot of them came out of this great university in Canada, Waterloo, that does all this incredible AI technology. Huge fan of the team, the technology. And they're like, listen, Dave, you got to let us do our work. And I'm like countering, saying, hey, Dave, let us show you what the platform can do and the speed of delivery. They're already a huge Salesforce customer, thousands of agents and salespeople. And so they incubated it in their wealth management business, which is in the US. And they have this great executive there, Dave, and he has kind of taken this Agentforce platform and he augmented the bankers, he augmented the support agents, augmented the call center, and all of a sudden they're getting tremendous productivity from that. And it is a much easier way than the DIY approach that even a bank like that was pursuing it, because they have so many developers and so much technical capability. You can see why they would do that. And they're awesome, but our platform is a better approach. And it's going to give you a better, more accurate, more easily deployable system.
So the examples you ran through there, some of them are talking about how customers and businesses interact. Some of them are looking at how companies themselves operate. And I think with artificial intelligence, one of the big things we've had to acknowledge a lot in the last couple of years is it is going to change the way that a lot of businesses work and the way that a lot of companies work. I saw that Salesforce isn't planning on hiring engineers this year. How do you see agentic AI playing into the way that work gets done for you guys, but also for a lot of your customers?
Well, I have a lot of software engineers, probably more than 10,000, maybe close to 12,000 now. And, they're a huge part of our workforce. We have 75,000 employees, but I've noticed they are just so much more productive using these next generation of tools. There's so many new next generation productivity tools. And in that same way, humans will be augmented. In the example of Gucci, we took our technology and we applied it to a call center in Florence, Italy. And we augmented the call center. And it's really incredible what happened. All of a sudden, we were like, okay, are they going to need less support agents? It turned out revenues went up 30% in the call center because the support agents were able to sell products, market products. They could understand products that before they did not have or understood. So that was awesome and incredible that we could make their revenues go up and make them more profitable. We've seen the same thing happen in a company in Miami called Lennar. Do you know who they are?
No, I don't.
They're a huge home builder in the United States, maybe the largest or one of the very largest. And they have 2 great co-CEOs, Stuart and John, who I've been talking to because their team came to Dreamforce, which is, our annual kind of powwow, Lollapalooza conference concert. We have like 40, 50,000 people come to San Francisco for that one. Their team came. They've been a customer for 8 years. They do sales and service and marketing, and they do all these amazing things. So the team came back to Miami and they ran a hackathon to look at how could they use Agentforce inside Lennar. And what they found was that there are 5 critical use cases. And if they could do it, they could potentially generate hundreds of millions of dollars of more profit, huge amounts of revenue, and basic things like being able to provide an agentic layer on all of their home sales that are 24/7, lead management, selling, new products to existing customers like insurance or mortgages. And you can not have to have a very big fantasy to see, wow, there's a lot of things these agents could do, because it's just hard for them to hire more workers. So they're really extending their workforce, their human workforce, with these digital workers, and it's a digital labor revolution. So for a Lennar or for any of these companies that I mentioned, it's an extension. In some ways, it is a transformation. Another company in Florida that we work with very closely is Disney. And for Disney, of course, it's augmenting not just like the Disney Plus call center, but it's also kind of really providing a different kind of interface for, first of all, the employees, their cast members. The products at Disney are so complex and so deep, and they have so many, that when cast members are trying to understand all the products and trying to communicate to the customer, they need tools to do that. That's number one. But the second thing is the ability to deliver an agent that can talk directly to the customer on a complex product configuration. Like, for example, I'm coming to Disney World. I want to have a really incredible hotel room. I also want to have a restaurant reservation. I have an allergy. I need to make sure that the restaurant knows that when I get there. I also want to make sure I have all the accompaniments for the park when I get there, like the right park pass, the right promotion, the right additional Disney guide. All of the different products of Disney, they start to get bundled together into kind of a custom SKU for this client who's coming to the park on vacation for with their kids. Wow. And they're humans. They do have a hard time putting it all together. The agents can help, and the agents can talk directly to the customer. And then, and you can see this even on our own website, at any moment, the customer, boom, can move over to a human agent. And then a human agent gets a screen, because we're all operating in the same app, the same data set, right? It's that same Trinity. And then the human is looking at, oh yeah, I can see, here's the client, here's the allergy, here's the hotel, here's this. This is not some kind of thing that I'm just making up on the fly. This is something that we've built, that I've seen, getting deployed, that I'm excited about, that this can be really is possible. And maybe a year or 2 years ago, it was not possible. So we really have made huge strides. So whether it's that hospitality or media company or financial services company or consumer product goods company or airline or clothing company or tech company, every single company can benefit from this technology. And that is why this is going so fast.
You just talked about how this was something that you guys built. And I know historically, Salesforce has been a mix of you guys home grow some stuff, you acquire companies that look interesting and make sense as part of your overall suite. In the AI zone, is that something where you guys want to focus more on home growing, or are you still looking out there and seeing what opportunities might be there in the market for you?
We believe that there is, for a high growth, high quality tech company, the perfect balance between organic and inorganic innovation. Even in the example of Agentforce, I was able to accelerate it because we already had the vision. We knew what we wanted to do, but we knew we needed to have an extended team. We wanted some technology that we did not have inside. So, 8 or 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I bought a company. It was an amazing company that we integrated deeply into our product that became Einstein. The founders of the company left after about 5 or 6 years, and one of them started a company that we invested in. And then about a year ago now, I bought that company, and it was kind of an aqua hire in one level. That means kind of just hiring the people. And another level, I kind of like some of the technology they had, but I knew I could simply and quickly extend my platform with it to bring forth our AI in a new way, and that is Agentforce. So acquisitions are important. In other areas, we've entered new markets and we have critical products like Slack. A lot of people use Slack. It's a huge product, incredible. He had a huge growth year last year. And one of the reasons why Slack is growing and more relevant than ever is it's an incredible place where your agents can live. In fact, I just retweeted a developer came along this morning and said, hey, I can see how Slack is going to become this place where all my agents are now operating. I'm communicating with them, and yet they're all collaborating with all the other workers in our company. So that's very exciting for us. So Slack was an incredible acquisition. Tableau is another one. Now, a lot of folks haven't seen the new Tableau yet. It's called Tableau Next. I have always loved Tableau. It came out of Stanford. They did this amazing work in business intelligence and analytics. Always wanted to buy the company. Finally had the chance to do that. The product is awesome, but yeah, we're moving into the agentic world. So I have rewritten it. I rewrote it over the last, basically a year. In that case, I don't need to acquire it. I already had it. But now Tableau has a deeply integrated agentic layer, data cloud, and app layer, just like we've been talking about. When Tableau users see this coming up in the new conference, they are going to honestly flip out. They call themselves the data fam. To see the next generation of Tableau, that it could have another decade or 2 decades of growth ahead of it with a new architecture, is really exciting, not just for me, but I think for the entire community. And I'm really excited about that. The new Slack, the new Salesforce. And I think refreshing our whole product line with this Trinity approach, rewriting everything into this architecture, this is transforming our company and our customers. And we're going to see a lot of new, exciting deployments this year, and refreshed deployments of what was already deployed getting extended.
I'm glad you brought up Slack, because I was going to have to ask you about it. It's the biggest acquisition, and Tableau also something that has a lot of brand recognition. We've used at the Fool, and I think a lot of people who follow the software space know well. Now that you've had a little time with both those, I'm curious, how would you grade those acquisitions with the benefit of some perspective, and what's the work to be done there that you still see?
Well, number one was Slack. I could give you a lot of class on acquisitions. I've done more than 60 acquisitions. So, it's 25 years of Salesforce, more than 60 acquisitions. And so there's a lot of lessons. But I think the new Slack, number one, when we bought the company, great brand, great product, great team. I think that the team that we acquired had a slightly different vision of the future than we did, and why we bought it. They were struggling, competing against Microsoft. They didn't understand how to differentiate themselves. There were issues, which is why we were able to buy it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to buy it, because it was incredible. I think they were on their way from 1 billion on their way to 2 billion. Now the thing is on its way from 2 billion to 3 billion. And we have a different vision. We have a different architecture. And they're going to benefit from being part of our architecture, because they want to be part of our data cloud. They want to be part of Agentforce. And that's what gives our customers this incredible value. Because now, let's take any one of those stories that I just went through, but let's say you are Singapore Airlines, and you do have Salesforce as your platform, and you have these agents, and you have this agentic layer, and you are doing sales and service and marketing and commerce and all these things. And now you also have Slack, so your employees are collaborating in that. It's all working together. And that is what is cool. And that's why I love the new Slack, what we've done with it. We're showing that off today at Trailhead DX, for example. Customers are loving it, tweeting about it. We're showing off some of the work. I mean, this is what, gets us excited, is to innovate, to create, to, conceptualize the future. And what I love is, you can take some of these brands that they may not have a clear trajectory without us. but then you bring them into our architecture and it transforms them and gives them not only an expanded customer base to sell to, because all of our salespeople now are selling Slack, for example. So we have a huge sales force selling Slack, where before Slack only had, a couple hundred people selling Slack. Hey, if you're going to compete with Microsoft, you need a company like Salesforce who, A, knows how to market and position against Microsoft, but B, can sell directly to customers. I was just talking with one of our largest customers yesterday, the CEO of a large pharmaceutical company, great company. I use their products myself. I wear contacts there. I use their contacts. And, he's a huge Slack user, running his company. And, I was telling him how excited I was about the new Slack and what I thought was going to happen and what he could do now that he could not do before. So I was really happy about it.
Yeah, I'm curious with Slack in particular. You have a portfolio of offerings, and the idea is, you can naturally extend ones you already have to users over there, but ideally, whatever you acquire also creates inbound new users for all of these other things. I imagine, especially the way we use Slack here internally at the Motley Fool, there's probably a little bit of a stickiness to Slack that doesn't necessarily exist for a lot of the other major communication tools out there. Like, what are you seeing as Slack as a front door to being able to sell the rest of the Salesforce suite?
Well, there is no more modern, more capable collaboration platform today than Slack. And if you are a user, I hope you've turned on the AI functionality and seen some of the cool stuff like recap and the summarization thing, but also how agents can directly appear, the huge amount of new agent platforms that are appearing in the Slack ecosystem. I also personally had this huge vision of being able to do systems of record within Slack, which we now call Slack lists. So you can use Slack as a data manager, all that's directly connected to Salesforce. There's also now Slack components that directly transpose your Salesforce information, so you can operate Salesforce from directly within Slack. You can operate Slack from directly within Salesforce. So if you're a Salesforce client, your Slack is appearing just directly within Sales Cloud and Service Cloud as well, or any of our apps or a custom app that you build. And then as we look to build new apps like ITSM and new kinds of capabilities, we're doing that all with Slack first. So, Slack remains, I think, a really competitive and modern user interface for the world. And so we've invested a lot. We've transformed it a lot since we bought it. But the architectural transformation is the biggest transformation. There's a lot of new exciting versions of Slack coming with new extended capabilities for search. A lot of that you'll see between now and Dreamforce coming up, which is coming up in October this year. I think there's incredible trajectory coming for Slack. I just hit through 2 or 3 really important things, like the idea for agents to be able to live and interoperate in Slack, the marketplace, the ability to build system to record applications, and a single system of search between Slack and all of our apps. These are like major priorities for us internally. They're very straightforward development and engineering goals, all made better by Agentforce. So that's where my head is at around Slack, and I'm pretty jacked up on it. And I think that the revenue growth last year was kind of evidence of the competitiveness. And I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but it wasn't unusual for us to all of a sudden see a quarter where we're seeing 20 or 30% growth on Slack on bookings. And I was like, whoa, this is like crazy. And I just feel like, well, I'm living it in every day myself. If I show you my phone, you'll see that it's like, that's how I'm communicating with my company. That's how I'm interoperating. In some cases, it's how I'm putting data into Salesforce itself. So Slack is just awesome.
Marc, I really appreciate the time.
And one other thing, we're all reading about that whole thing going on, the DOGE work in the U.S. government, they're using Slack. A lot of U.S. government agencies use Slack, but DOGE is using Slack.
It's everywhere.
Everyone is like using Slack. I'm like, whoa, this acquisition is amazing.
As we wrap up here, we've spent a lot of time talking AI, generative AI, agentic AI. I'm going to ask you to peer into your tech crystal ball a little bit. Do you have a reckless prediction on the direction or the development of AI, whether it's in how customers will use it, how businesses will use it over the next 5 years?
Well, I think we see a few exciting things happening in the industry, and I think people need to kind of reframe how they're thinking about this. Number one, you see these companies putting hundreds of billions of dollars into these data centers, not just one. You, Dylan, could probably list 5 or 10 of them just on your own, like without even notes in front of you. And I could too, and I am driving my costs down by, moving my platform to work on as many of these as I can, because I can take advantage of a lower cost infrastructure. I want to be a software hyperscaler. I don't want to be a hardware hyperscaler who have to build these data centers. I want to have a portable platform that works across all of these data centers. And that's a huge priority for me. And I think that that's a tremendous prediction for the future, which is everything is going to be a lot lower cost to deploy. And that's super powerful that you have companies putting so much of their capital. And I don't want to impact my balance sheet and income statement by doing this. So I'll take advantage of the investments that these companies are making and partner with them. So that's number one. Number two is you can really see, and I've said this quite a few times, and I think initially people didn't feel it was true. I think now they kind of get it. These large language models are mostly commodities right now and have been. Now, I've been doing models for a long time in AI, and they're constantly leapfrogging each other. We're trying to leapfrog everyone ourselves. It's kind of a fun game that we play in the tech industry. But the large language model game has been won by nobody yet. And this idea that the model that's successful today is going to be the model that's going to be successful tomorrow is not true. So you can see, like, for example, I'm kind of getting ready to delete OpenAI and ChatGPT off my phone, which is something that I would never have even thought of 6 months ago, but now all I'm using is this Grok app, and it's fun. It's got this crazy, edgy, voice capability. Elon Musk has kind of transposed his personality into the way he's kind of divided up the voice platform. I don't know if you've tried that, Grok 3. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. Everyone's got a crazy story. I did a demo yesterday for a friend of mine. They couldn't believe it. Like this unhinged mode and storyteller mode and all kinds of other crazy modes. And I'm like, well, this is just better right now and more accurate and more fun than the ChatGPT app. Maybe I'm going to delete that off my phone. Why am I paying $20 a month for that? I'd rather be paying for this. And I probably have 6 or 7 of these things on my phone, and I'm getting ready to pare them down. And then, is Grok going to be the best app a year from now? I don't know. Maybe I'll end up putting the ChatGPT back on. Maybe I'll be using U.com is a great one. Maybe I'll be using Perplexity. I have no idea what's coming. I couldn't have told you this is what was going to happen a year ago. So that's a commodity part of the infrastructure. The LLM, it's kind of like disk drives. Disk drives and RAM and the computer. These are all commodity infrastructure components that are being made by large tech teams competing with each other. And that's how we drive our costs down. And that is something that I think is very important, that, yes, you have a new commodity part of the infrastructure, the large language model. And when I look at those things, I think the third piece is everyone's saying, hey, AGI is coming, AGI is coming, AGI is coming, but nobody exactly can define it. Nobody can describe it. Nobody can, we can kind of see in these movies, like our futurist Peter Schwartz was a key writer on Minority Report and War Games and Deep Impact. And it's like, okay, let's say AGI is coming and that we're all going to be talking to, Hal and saying, hey, Hal, open the doors. And, oh, no, I don't want to open the doors. But the doors, that's not how my doors are working right now. So maybe that's coming, but it's not here yet. So I'm kind of like, okay, I'm willing to be optimistic on AGI, but I also realize, like, what does AGI really mean? I think that for those LLMs, they're great, but we know they don't have 100% accuracy either. They're like we have like the highest accuracy, and the highest we've seen with some of our customers is in the 90s. We're kind of in the mid 80s ourselves right now on our own deployment. We're going to try to get into the 90s. but we're not going to get to 100 because the way that the thing is architected with these words are all hooked up with each other, and then they kind of turn into these kind of spider, neural network words. And these ideas aren't going to give us the 100% accuracy. So new models will have to come, new AI ideas. And, nobody's going to want an AGI that's only 50% accurate.
Yeah.
That's going to cause chaos. So maybe AGI is just going to mean 100% accuracy. And when will we get there? I don't know. So there's some fantasy of what the next generation is going to be. Maybe it's going to be a multi-sensory model, a world model, where you can, it's a three-dimensional rendering model. But those are the three things I would say. One, much lower cost infrastructure, that we're all going to be able to ride on. Two, commodity LLMs. And three, yes, these future states that are very exciting. And I hope that we get there. The future is definitely coming. And we've seen the movies, and we all want that to happen. It's going to be exciting.
Well, Marc, if you're game in a year, we'll have you back on to see which phone app you are using and also the progress that you're making on Agentforce.
It's great to see you, Dylan. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for your time, Marc.